I was madly in love with Hyunwoo, a man I thought was my soulmate, until I discovered his perfectly crafted second life hidden in his mother's secret recipe book. His lies weren't just careless mistakes. They were a cold, calculated betrayal of our shared love and his family's traditions. But he made one crucial mistake, underestimating the power of a single, forgotten note that would become the very weapon of his downfall. Now, listen to a story where karma is served with a side of kimchi jjigae, leaving nothing but the bitter taste of his own deceit. Ji-min, with a heart as full as a pot of simmering kimchi jjigae, truly believed she was the luckiest woman in Seoul. Her world revolved around the elegant, comforting rhythms of her life as a food blogger, and at its center was Hyunwoo. He was a man who seemed to have stepped right out of a drama series, charismatic, successful, an architect with a brilliant mind and a gentle hand. He adored her, or so it seemed, in a way that made every moment feel precious and profound. For 2 blissful years, their relationship had been a perfectly balanced recipe, blended with shared interests, late-night conversations, and, most importantly, a deep, mutual love for food. Their relationship had a delicious centerpiece, the legendary kimchi jjigae made by Hyunwoo's mother. The old woman, a pillar of tradition and grace, was a quiet celebrity in their small circle. Her soup wasn't just a meal, it was a legend, a dish whispered about with reverence. Hyunwoo had always promised Ji-min that he would one day convince his mother to part with the recipe, a family secret guarded fiercely for generations. This promise was a symbol of their future, a gesture that spoke of shared holidays and a place at the family table. One crisp autumn afternoon, a day she would later remember with a chilling clarity, Ji-min found herself in the heart of Hyunwoo's parents' home, a place that had always felt safe and welcoming. As Hyunwoo's mother stepped out to take a phone call, Ji-min's gaze drifted across the traditional Korean kitchen. Her eyes settled on a high, dusty shelf where an old, leather-bound notebook sat nestled between faded ceramic bowls. A thrill of intrigue shot through her. It was exactly as Hyunwoo had described it, his mother's legendary recipe book, an artifact she had only heard about in hushed tones. A playful, almost childlike curiosity took hold. No harm in a quick peek, she thought, justifying the act as a harmless treasure hunt. With a stool and a little bit of effort, she reached the book and carefully took it down. The leather was worn and soft beneath her fingertips, a testament to decades of use. She opened it gently, breathing in the faint, comforting scent of old paper and spices. The pages were a work of art, filled with recipes penned in a beautiful, traditional Korean calligraphy. Each stroke was a lesson in history, a window into a past she longed to be a part of. As she reverently turned a page, a loose, folded piece of paper fluttered out and landed silently on the worn wooden floor. It was an unassuming little note, and her heart gave a little leap of excitement. Maybe it was a shopping list for the kimchi jjigae, or perhaps a special ingredient her mother-in-law was considering. She bent down and unfolded it, her eyes ready to scan for familiar grocery items. But what she found instead was a meticulous list written in Hyunwoo's unmistakably elegant handwriting. It wasn't a list of groceries. It was a series of cryptic dates, times, and addresses. And most unsettling of all, each entry was followed by a woman's name that was decidedly not hers. In that single, agonizing second, the innocent thrill of discovery turned into a sharp, gnawing sensation of suspicion. The names were a mix of familiar and unfamiliar. Names like Soyeon and Minji, names he had mentioned in passing, now took on a sinister new meaning. The dates corresponded to times he had told her he was working late at the office or away on business trips. With each line her eyes traced, the feeling of betrayal grew. Her chest tightened, and her heart, which moments ago had been so full of love, began to beat a frantic, panicked rhythm against her ribs. The sweet aroma of spices in the kitchen seemed to disappear, replaced by the bitter, metallic taste of a truth she was just beginning to swallow. The once charming calligraphy in the book now felt like a cruel irony, a beautiful facade hiding a terrible, ugly secret. The names on the list swam before Jimin's eyes, a cruel roll call of her shattered reality. Se-yeon, a colleague Hyunwoo had mentioned in passing, a woman whose professional courtesy now felt like a calculated lie. Minji, a childhood friend he had recently reconnected with, a friendship she had encouraged, now a source of bitter regret. The list wasn't a random collection of names. It was a meticulous calendar of secret appointments, a detailed itinerary of his deception. The dates and times were specific, almost clinical in their precision, and each one corresponded to a time Hyunwoo had told her he was working late, traveling for a business meeting, or catching up with old friends. The full weight of the discovery descended on her, a profound and sickening shock. It wasn't just a moment of poor judgment or a fleeting mistake. It was an elaborate, carefully constructed web of lies woven over months, maybe even longer. She was staring at undeniable, irrefutable evidence of a double life. The man she thought she knew, the man she loved, the man she had entrusted with her future, was a stranger, a master of a secret life she had never even suspected. Her hands began to tremble, and she felt the fragile paper crinkle slightly in her grasp. The note felt like a hot coal, a burning testament to his betrayal. With a great effort, she smoothed it out and with trembling fingers folded it back into its place between the pages. Placing the heavy, leather-bound boat back on its shelf felt like she was sealing away a part of her own heart. The reality of it all washed over her in a wave of nausea. The charming life they had built, the easy laughter, the shared dreams, it was all a lie. A beautiful, empty facade built on a foundation of deceit. Jimin leaned against the cool kitchen counter, her head spinning with a whirlwind of questions. How could he do this? Why? Was any of their relationship real? Her mind replayed countless memories. A hand held on a quiet evening, a shared smile over a delicious meal, a gentle kiss goodbye. Were all those moments a performance? Was she just another detail in his meticulously planned secret life? She looked at the old recipe book, once a symbol of family, tradition, and shared love for food. It was meant to be a bridge between her and his family, a cherished heirloom that would one day be hers. Now she saw it as nothing more than a cover for his elaborate deception. The beautiful Korean calligraphy on its pages, once a source of admiration, seemed to mock her now. Each elegant stroke of ink felt like a silent, venomous lie. She had gone searching for a recipe for comfort and love, but instead she had found a recipe for deceit and heartbreak. The bitter, raw taste of his betrayal was now the only flavor she could truly discern. Jimin knew, with a clarity that stung like a splash of cold water, that she couldn't confront Hyunwoo just yet. Her discovery of the note was a secret weapon, and revealing it prematurely would only allow him to build a new wall of lies. She had to be subtle, patient, and methodical. She needed more proof, something to trap him in his own deceit. The perfect tool for her plan was already in her hands. The very thing that had brought her to this point, his mother's secret recipe. The next time they met, Jimin forced herself to act as if nothing had changed. Her smile felt like a fragile mask, a performance she had to perfect. She casually brought up the topic, her voice as light and carefree as she could make it. "You know, I just can't stop thinking about your mother's kimchi jjigae," she said, her eyes fixed on him. "It's truly a masterpiece. Did you ever manage to get that recipe?" Hyunwoo's face lit up with a familiar, easy smile, a smile she now recognized as a meticulously crafted disguise. My mother's secret," he said, the words dripping with a charm that now felt like a venomous lie. "It's a tough one to crack, but I'll see what I can do. For you." His casual lie, delivered with such practiced sincerity, fueled a quiet, smoldering anger deep within her. The emotional turmoil she felt was a fiery, potent brew. A week later, Hyunwoo came to her apartment, a triumphant grin spread across his face. He held a neatly typed sheet of paper, as if presenting a rare trophy. "I did it! After much begging and promises, my mother finally gave it to me," he exclaimed, his eyes shining with a feigned pride. "Here it is, the legendary recipe, just for you." But Ji-min knew better. She took the paper, her fingers brushing his, and the touch sent a shiver down her spine. She had seen the real handwritten book, the worn leather and the elegant calligraphy of his mother's hand. This pristine, typed page was a forgery, a carefully prepared distraction. The ingredients and instructions were generic, an imitation of something sacred. It was a fake, a hollow gesture meant to placate her, to bury the truth deeper beneath a new layer of lies. Hyunwoo's willingness to create this elaborate, fake recipe to hide his true life revealed the chilling depth of his betrayal. Her anger wasn't just about his infidelity. It was about the cold, calculating nature of his lies. He hadn't just made a mistake in a moment of weakness. He was a man who had consciously and deliberately chosen to deceive her, to manipulate her trust. He had taken his family's most cherished tradition, a symbol of heritage and genuine love, and twisted it into a tool for his own dishonesty. As she looked at the fake recipe in her hands, she felt a profound sense of clarity. The real fight wasn't against the other women. It was against the man who stood before her, a man whose entire existence with her was a carefully curated fiction. The paper felt cheap and insignificant, but it was the evidence she needed. The game had changed. It was no longer about a secret. It was about a reckoning. And she knew exactly what she was going to do with this secret ingredient. Armed with the knowledge of his deceit, Jimin's sorrow began to curdle into a cold, hard resolve. The fiery anger had cooled, transforming into something far more dangerous, a meticulous, strategic plan. She would not scream or cry. She would simply let his own lies unravel around him. She devised a plan, one that used the very same elements he had so cruelly misused. She invited Hyunwoo over for a special dinner, a night she promised would be unforgettable. Her apartment, once a sanctuary of their shared life, now felt like a stage set for a final, painful scene. The air was heavy with unspoken words, a tension she alone could feel. Jimin went to the market and, with a chillingly focused mind, bought the exact ingredients for his mother's real kimchi jjigae. She had secretly jotted down the key components, the subtle herbs and spices, the specific cuts of meat, the authentic blueprint for the dish he had lied about. When Hyunwoo arrived, his usual confident smile in place, he was met with a tantalizing aroma that filled her home. He took a deep breath, his face softening with what she now knew was a performance. "Smells incredible," he said, and then, as he had countless times before, he leaned in and kissed her cheek. The deception, his casual hypocrisy, felt like a physical weight on her chest, a phantom limb of their dead relationship. She felt a profound sadness, not for the man he was, but for the man she had believed him to be. They sat down to eat, the atmosphere strangely serene. Jimin served the steaming kimchi jjigae, its vibrant red color and rich aroma, a stark contrast to the betrayal simmering beneath the surface. Hyunwoo, oblivious to the trap she had laid, took a spoonful and brought it to his lips. He chewed thoughtfully for a moment, and then his face immediately fell. A look of confusion, a tiny crack in his practiced facade, clouded his features. He took another, more hesitant bite, his brow furrowed. This isn't my mom's recipe," he stammered, his voice filled with genuine perplexity. It's much better. It's perfect." Jimin watched him, her expression a mixture of profound sadness and unshakable resolve. She did not raise her voice. She did not accuse. She simply held his gaze, her eyes revealing a truth he couldn't run from. "Actually," she said, her voice steady and quiet, "it's her real recipe. I found the book." The words landed like a physical blow. The color drained from Hyunwoo's face, leaving him pale and shaken. The mask of charm, the easy smiles, the carefully crafted lies, all of it shattered into 1,000 tiny pieces. He was cornered. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken accusations and the undeniable, brutal truth. He was no longer a man with a secret. He was a man fully exposed, trapped by the very thing he had used to deceive her. Her anger was no longer a frantic, hot emotion. It was cold, precise, and purposeful. It was the quiet, powerful force of karma served to him on a plate he couldn't deny. The confession that followed was a quiet storm of shattered illusions. Hyunwoo, his face a mask of shame and disbelief, eventually confessed to everything. His hurried excuses and pathetic apologies fell into the silence of the room like a handful of stones, hollow and meaningless. He stammered about loneliness and pressure, about the women being nothing more than distractions. But Jimin didn't need his apologies. The time for sorrow and forgiveness had passed, replaced by a cold certainty that she deserved better. Her relief wasn't in his words, but in the closure that his brokenness provided. She had her own kind of satisfaction now, a profound sense of justice that no apology could ever deliver. She had unmasked him not just to herself, but to the world she had built her career in. The next morning, Jimin sat down at her computer, her fingers flying across the keyboard with a newfound purpose. She wrote a blog post, a story of love and betrayal, titled "The Secret Recipe for a Lie." In it, she wove the narrative of their relationship, detailing the authentic love she had believed in and the fake one he had created. She used the real and fake kimchi jjigae recipes as a powerful metaphor for his duplicity, revealing the cheap, generic ingredients of his lies versus the rich, meaningful ones of her truth. The online community, a place where she had always shared joy and delicious discoveries, was swift and merciless in its response. The post went viral, spreading like wildfire across social media platforms. Hyunwoo's meticulously crafted image as a successful, loving man was shattered. His professional reputation crumbled under the weight of public opinion. Friends and colleagues who had always admired their seemingly perfect relationship turned their backs on him. The carefully constructed life he had so proudly displayed came crashing down, a consequence of his own making. The ultimate relief for Jimin wasn't the revenge, but the closure it provided. She hadn't just exposed his lies, she had reclaimed her own story. She had turned his most guarded secrets against him, using them to craft a new narrative for herself, one of strength, resilience, and a fierce refusal to be a victim. The old leather-bound recipe book, once a symbol of love and family, now served as a testament to her courage. It was no longer a token of his family's history, but a powerful reminder of the hidden truths she had been brave enough to uncover. In the days and weeks that followed, Jimin found her own second life, one not based on his deception, but on her own authentic self. She continued her food blog, but her posts now had a deeper, more personal tone. She had learned a profound truth: the most meaningful ingredients in life are always the real ones. And as she sat in her own kitchen, making a fresh pot of kimchi jjigae with the real handwritten recipe, she realized the taste was salty, spicy, and perfectly clean. It was the taste of her own freedom, a flavor that was more satisfying than any love Hyunwoo could have ever faked.